All right, so exercise variation number 1 for training safely around any type of knee discomfort is one where I would actually utilize an isometric contraction. So think of performing basically a wall sit. You want to get your butt down to lowest position without any type of pain or discomfort and hold or maintain that position for a period of time. 15 seconds if you're a beginner, 30 seconds. Make it up to about a minute before you then progressively lower your depth. The depth is a key that does matter. What we typically want is to get down to at least to where the quads are parallel to the floor. So about that position right there, say a 90-degree knee bend position. Now, what we're also going to use is an ankle band or a mini band. So you can see this little looped band. A lot of the times people put this around their ankles and they're doing any type of side steps, monster walks, or glute bridges. And what we want to do is use the band as a form of reactive neuromuscular training, which is basically using the resistance band above the knees, which creates a little stimulus to pull the knees inward. That's known as a valgus collapse. It's not so good on the knees, but what we want to do is use the band to teach or train our body to always kind of push the knees outward slightly, so that way we're in a better alignment position as far as the knee joint itself is called for, but you're also engaging and activating the gluteus medius or some of the other glute muscles in the buttock, which is meant to help stabilize and protect the knee. So all you really need is a medium or light resistance band. You're going to step into the band, place the band right above the kneecaps there, and then you're going to go through your squat. So remember, everyone's squat stance is a little bit different. Hip width apart, slightly wider, toes turned out, doesn't matter. Make sure you find what is safe for you, but you're going to go ahead and push the knees outward. You could see that position. Get down to the lowest point, whatever is pain-free. Hold that position for 15, 30, up to 60 seconds, and then go ahead back through and stand up tall. Now, this is one where I would not typically come back and forth to the exercise. I would swap this out and create part of a circuit. That way the next time you come back through, your legs are feeling pretty fresh to go ahead and attack it once again. So if you're having difficulty with your squat, try that isometric squat hold with the resistance band. All right, squat variation number 2 would be using a suspension trainer for assistance. In the first exercise, we use that little mini ankle band around the knees to produce some form of resistance to teach the body how to open or push the knees outward. So if that was helping for you, by no means do you need to get rid of the band. You can use the band through any of these different squat variations. But a lot of the times people, as they learn the actual full movement, they need some type of assistance to get their body in the appropriate position, to learn all the cues. Also, they need to use some of their upper body to help pull them up from a lower squat position. So if that's you, you may want to stick with something like this. So I have a lot of people that they are married to using the handles. And what I like to have people do is use the saddles. That's the very tail end there. Why? Is because I think you're going to want to graduate from the suspension trainer eventually, as opposed to being married to it and holding what I call a death grip on the handles, because you get so accustomed to using it, you never want to let it go. And that's not the objective. Eventually, we want to do body weight without assistance, or hopefully using some form of resistance to get the body stronger to function better, right? So when you're holding the saddles, make sure that you actually set up in an upright position. I have a lot of people that are like slightly leaning back, or they're even slightly leaning forward. When you start your squat, you should always be in a neutral or upright position. Make sure your elbows are bent to about a 90-degree angle, and then initiate the same squat movement the same way we do for any squat variation. Butt back to shift the weight in your heels, unlock the knees. Now I'm straightening the arms so I can actually sit my body or my butt back to 90 degrees. And with the arms straight, I'm able to keep the head and chest up and then drive up using the heels mostly, but I still am able to use my hands to help pull me up and towards the anchor point there. So again, if you are somebody that is still in a beginner position, learning how to squat and needs some more assistance, give that variation a shot. All right, exercise variation number 3 is one where we're going to use a piece of resistance, by that being a weight plate, as a form of assistance. So we did this once before in exercise variation number 1, where we had that little mini ankle band and it was wrapped above the knee to help to produce or retrain our body to push the knees outward. That way we're engaging some of the small hip stabilizer muscles and we're putting our knee in a much more aligned position to keep it straight and forward and out of discomfort or dysfunctional movement patterns. Now with the weight plate, what we're doing is we're going to push the weight plate away from us as we sit our butt back, and yes, you can touch or lightly tap the bench. What the weight plate does as it gets pushed away from us is it's basically acting as a counterbalance. What I have a lot of people do because of tightness and restriction in the calves, the hip flexors, poor ankle mobility, poor hip mobility, is that as we tend to squat, we end up so far forward that we're either shifting or falling forward, or our heels actually lift off the ground, which is again putting our knee in a more uncomfortable, unfriendly position that's going to start to wear some of the articular cartilage, some of the cartilage that's under the kneecap itself, and that's also help preserving or protecting the knee joint itself. So what we're going to do is grab a light weight. I have a 25-pound weight plate that's probably a little bit on the higher side of the weight, because this does get taxing on the shoulder and the back, because as weights get pushed away from us rather than keeping it close to you, your back extensors are doing a significant amount of the work. So make sure that you're starting with a fairly light to moderate amount of weight. Now, as I mentioned before, you can actually kind of butt touch or touch the bottom to the bench. You can use a box as well. Just make sure that you're at a height that's comfortable or pain-free for you. 90 degrees is preferred. So with the weight plate at the chest, press out as you squat down, lightly tap the butt to the bench, and then simply drive back up. So with each rep, you want to make sure that you're pushing the weight out and then bringing it back in. What you should hopefully be able to see there is that I'm able to maintain neutral spine. The knees are going over the toes. The knees are opening slightly. We're doing all the major things that we need to be doing to keep the knees in a very healthy, very friendly position. So give that a shot. We got 2 more to go. All right, exercise variation number 4 for training safely around any type of knee discomfort or pain, predominantly using the squat, is one where we're actually performing basically a regular traditional body weight squat, but we're going to use a bench to kind of assist us, at least in terms of the range of motion, so we can get the depth right, predominantly trying to achieve quads to parallel or knees to 90 degrees. They both mean the same thing, it's just the way that you're thinking about it. So make sure that you're actually going to practice with a chair, a bench, a box, a stepper, something that gets your body to an appropriate knee range of motion. Okay, once you have that, then we're able to practice the squat, but without any type of resistance or assistance. Now, what we did was use the weight plate before as a counterbalance for resistance and assistance. So you're probably wondering, well, how does this get more challenging? Now we're removing any type of resistance or assistance, but we're basically asking the body to do all of the weight itself. So what I like to actually have somebody do is tap the calves against the box or the bench, and then kind of tiptoe forward and find your squat position. Now, if you want, put your hands out the first time to just kind of feel yourself out. What you can see is that my butt is touching the bench. What I'm not doing is shutting the leg muscles off so that I can't get up without taking a break. What we want is constant tension the entire time. So all you're going to do is put the hands out, lightly tap the butt, and then drive your weight back up, utilizing the heels. Now, it's okay to do a little bit of like a rock back position, but what you don't want to do is end up sitting, taking a break, and then asking your body to go back up and produce that awesome movement. It's going to be way more challenging to rest all the muscles and then fire them up right away and try to get your body up again. So keep constant tension going the entire time. Progress through your sit to stand. All right, so we've made it to our fifth and final exercise variation for learning how to squat in a knee-friendly position. And now we're going to start adding a real piece of resistance that you can continue to build off of, but we're going to hold the resistance in front of our body, which is more or less known as a goblet style squat. It is by far the safest and most friendly position to squat with because the weight is in front of us. What we do have a tendency to still do is drive our knees forward over our toes and even lift the heels and almost fall forward. So what that weight is doing is acting still as a counterbalance, and a lot of the times people use the goblet style squat to improve squat depth and work on hip mobility, because the goblet or the resistance is going to basically put your body in that perfect type of squat position or pattern. So once we get through the other four variations and we're trying to get our body stronger, more enduring, work on the hip stability, now we can actually finally progress to using some piece of resistance. So if you have a kettlebell, you have two different ways to hold it. You can hold it like so in front of you, make sure that the elbows stay low. They should basically tap the thighs or go in between the knees. If you have a kettlebell, you can also flip it upside down and hold it like so. This makes it look more like you're drinking out of a goblet or a chalice. And obviously, if you have a hexagon-shaped dumbbell, you would just cup your hands under one of them. Just make sure that your wrist is staying nice and neutral. Now, why I have the bench still set up is because a lot of the people for the first time, they're protecting their depth of their squat because of some type of knee discomfort or pain. So assuming that you finally fix that problem by working through all those awesome variations I just gave you, we want to assume that you can get back to a 90-degree position of your squat depth and now adding a piece of resistance to it. So you can still do your butt touch and then drive back up. But again, just remember that you're not actually shifting your weight back and then taking a break and then asking the muscles to then get active again and push your body up. So once you progress beyond the level of the bench, try removing the bench and then teaching and training your body to find that appropriate angle of the knees and start building on strength from there. Most people should be able to handle a decent amount of weight there and starting to work on their exercise prescription for strength. So hopefully those tips help you start squatting safely around any type of knee discomfort or pain. If you still need some more tips, you know where to reach me, or you can leave me a comment below.